All right. I will call the Neary Building Committee meeting to order. It is August 19th, 2024. It is 7:02 p.m. We have 4 of our 7 voting members present. Andrew may join us at some point here this evening. I think Kathy is traveling and Chris has another commitment. So we'll have to figure out a way to get their comments in as we go through this. First item on the agenda is the approval of meeting minutes from July 22nd, 2024 PM meeting. So we had these in front of us at the last meeting. Mark had raised a question on one of the motions, and I went back with Mariana to confirm it because it didn't make sense to me at the time when Mark was asking the question, but I now believe Mariana has appropriately captured the motion that was made, but let me add some clarity to it, Mark. Because our documents get, the supporting documents get synced behind our meeting minutes, we were looking at a potential, a proposed configuration at that point in time, and we had an A and a B in front of us on that particular one. So when I said B as in Bravo in the motion that was made, that was because we had a document in front of us. So I'm thinking the way to clarify your point is to actually put some reference to that document in the descriptor so that there's clarity on what we're referring to. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
As soon as you said it, I said, oh, now I think I know what it means.
Yeah, and it took me a second when I went back, but yeah, now we're good. So, is there any other comments on the July 22nd, 2024 PM meeting? All right. Then with that, I will make a motion to approve the Neary Building Committee meeting minutes for July 22nd, 2024, with that additional clarifying item. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Denise?
Aye.
Roger?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
And I am aye as well. So that is a 4-0 vote. Hi, Greg. Okay. Next one in the agenda is August 12th, 2024. Those are not ready yet. The video just got posted on Friday, so I know Mariana is diligently working through those, so we'll skip those for this evening. The next item on the agenda is executive session meeting minutes for August 9, 2024. We will approve those at our next meeting, which will be within likely the next 7 days. The next item is approval of outstanding sustainability and communication subcommittee meeting minutes. If we're not ready to do this tonight, we need to be ready to do this at our next meeting without calling a meeting of each of these respective subcommittees. As you probably saw in the PSR, they list out important actions and copies of our meeting minutes. So we need to be caught up on all of our meeting minutes. So the 2 that are out there are, actually there's 3 that are out there. One is the 6/14 Neary Building Committee Sustainability Subcommittee, which we have 2 of our 3 members here on. Roger and Mark, are you ready on those or no?
I am ready if Mark is. If Mark wants to hold, that's okay also, but
Fine.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Mark, sorry.
I'm fine.
Yeah, this was the one where we had to cancel the previous meeting, and I think that's where the town clerk's office maybe got a little confused because they were looking for the previous meeting, which got canceled, and then we substituted this meeting. So we're set to go. Do you want to, should I make the motion? Jason, I guess is the.
Make a motion and let's get a second, and then I'll walk through protocol on how I think this should work, and anyone can correct me if they don't think that's accurate. So go ahead, Roger.
So I'll move that we approve the minutes for the Neary Building Committee Sustainable Subcommittee for June 14th at 2024 at 10:00 a.m.
Second.
Okay, so motion and second to that. I would say for any of the Neary, because this is a Neary Building Committee motion that we're approving minutes on behalf of our subcommittee, it's totally appropriate to abstain if you're not a member of that subcommittee. That's what I plan to do, but I just figured I'd put that out there as well for anyone that was questioning how we're doing this. So, any other discussion on the meeting minutes for the sustainability subcommittee? Okay, roll call vote. Roger,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Denise,
Abstain.
Andrew,
Abstain.
and I'm an abstain. So that's a 203 vote. The next ones that are in the packet that I do not plan to entertain a motion on yet, because not that all these meetings aren't important, but I think we can all acknowledge that the meeting for the Neary Building Committee Finance Subcommittee that also was posted as a full building committee was a pretty important meeting that led to some decisions that were made at the subsequent meeting. So I prefer to have the full committee, or at least the full subcommittee present for that vote. So I'm going to pass over those, other than to acknowledge that they're here, and we will make a motion on those at the next meeting. The next are the July 26th, 2024 Neary Building Committee Communication Subcommittee meeting minutes. Roger and Denise, are you ready on those?
I am.
I'm fine with those.
Okay. All right. Then I will move that we accept the NBC Communication Subcommittee meeting minutes for July 26, 2024 as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Okay. Roll call vote. Roger,
Aye.
Denise,
Aye.
Mark Davis,
Abstain.
Andrew,
Abstain.
and I'm an aye. So that's a 302 vote. Okay.
You okay? Yeah, I just got home. All right.
All right. Next is communication plan next steps. So the communication subcommittee did meet after the last meeting that we had in person and issued a release kind of documenting the discussion that occurred that evening, that has gone out to a variety of sources for posting. We are now, we also discussed kind of where to take that from there. So I think you're going to see that subcommittee ramp up even more in terms of our next steps to continue to educate the community on where we're at and where we may be headed. So to the extent that any full building committee members have suggestions or action items, certainly feel free to let one, not all three of us know, so we can bring it back to the subcommittee for discussion. I will tell you that Roger has been having some discussions at the senior center to engage with the community there, because it obviously represents a very different and distinct group of voters than what we may hit through targeting through Parent Square or other avenues that are available to us, including those that do not rely on technology to receive their communication. So other ideas are welcome as we move forward, and we will also find a way to publish a more robust list of frequently asked questions now that we kind of have a lot more data to share in a path that we're looking for feedback on. Are there any questions or comments on that piece? Hearing and seeing none, I will move to the next agenda item, which is review and provide comments on the draft preferred schematic report. So we are not going to vote tonight, even if we were ready. But this was really an avenue, because we cannot do this just via email, to provide feedback to the Skanska and Arrow Street team for them to turn another draft to us. As we go through this and hear the level of commentary from at least the members that are present tonight, I think it's really important that everyone think about how quickly this can be turned. So we're going to, any of these comments, right, Skanska and Arrow Street, we're going to need your feedback on how long you're going to need. We had originally penciled in a meeting for next week, but I think the goal here is to approve this as soon as the committee is ready. but obviously with the proper posting requirements. And I know there are a ton of conflicts given everything that's in front of as school year starting, as we move forward into next week. I'm already aware of a few conflicts from some of the voting members as well. So goal tonight is to get any comments from both our voting and non-voting members on the table. And we'll let Aero Street and Skanska react to them. And then at the end of this discussion, we will decide when we're going to meet next on it, but it's got to be pretty soon. Greg and I also did have a discussion with town council of what requirements are needed of the Southborough School Committee, given that there are two things happening here. One is we're proposing a change to how we orient our elementary schools now in terms of a grade configuration. So there is likely going to be a vote, or there's going to need to be a vote by the Southborough School Committee on not only this document that we will also vote on, but also taking a vote on the actual changing of kind of how the schools are configured in support of that plan moving forward to the next steps. Questions on what we're going to do? All right. Does anyone want to start, or I'm happy to go with some high level comments off the bat? I would suggest someone from the Skanska or Aero Street team be ready to pull it up if needed. So who needs share access?
I think that's me, Jason.
Oop, try that again.
I saw Sue was raising her hand too, so.
Larry, do you want to take it, or do you want me to?
Your choice, C. I have it handy. But if you
Okay.
want to go ahead, I'm happy to have you run it
Okay.
and I'll
Sounds good.
respond as appropriate.
Okay.
Okay, you both have access. You can push and pull as you need to as we go through this discussion. Andrew, I see your hands up. Are you in a good spot to talk?
Yeah, I only have one quick edit. I only got through a little bit of it. I think it was page 4. The square footage didn't match some of the charts later in the deck, and I think the numbers that we actually voted on. So I think it just needs to be updated. Might be the old numbers.
Yes, and I think C, you already pointed that out. And just so everybody understands, a lot of comments, we got a handful of comments via email from Jason, and we've already picked up a lot of those.
And those were my comments, so I give you a preview of them. So, but I will run through the committee too.
Okay.
Andrew, do you have anything else beyond that? I know it sounds like you still have some work to do, but.
No, that's the only one I caught so far.
Okay.
Thanks, Andrew.
All right. Anyone else want to go with comments? I'm going to rattle through mine quickly. None of these are going to be a surprise to the Aero Street team. I'll do that while we keep going. So there was a reference to Acton at some point in the document. So I guess my general request is to obviously take care of that, but also any other districts that you may have kind of leveraged off of this template for. My main item, this is my main item of substance, is that I don't know what the other committee members thought, but I would say a main reason why I voted the way I did the other night was what we knew we had to do to Finn in the next 10 or so years, and the fact that if we had done a 2-grade school, we would be back at this shortly after kind of completing construction of Neary. So, i.e., if we had 2 Woodwards in our portfolio, my vote may have been different. Although I fully agree with the educational reasons that were listed, I think there needs to be some pull through here of, what our existing infrastructure is, in that we have a 25-year-old school and 2 50-plus-year-old schools. And even though Finn is not part of the actual project, right, that we put forward as part of the MSBA, there just needs to be some way of capturing that if this project goes through and gets a successful vote by not only the MSBA, but the town, that we are likely dealing with the major capital needs of Southborough for the foreseeable future related to schools. So I just thought that needs to be somewhere in here unless someone disagrees. My
Yeah, no,
next,
Jason, we can put that in a couple of spots, and thanks for that.
okay. My next one was, there was a reference on page 31, that said it is not desirable to increase traffic near the existing public safety building and town offices. To lead with that bullet point, I thought was a bit misleading, but also I don't know that we ever discussed that. My personal view of that particular is that that should just come out. I don't know that that was a gating issue of why we moved beyond the Woodward School. I think you know, you should, and I welcome the feedback for other committee members because that conversation was a little bit ago. I would priority order these, and I think you actually went in order of least relevant to potentially most relevant, right? We were obviously limited from the site on the recreational side, but it was really the area behind the school that was the bigger concern of how we were going to try to fit that in. And then in today's society, I actually think being next to a public safety building is usually fairly desirable from a safety perspective purely. But obviously, that building being to the south of this is a limiting factor in terms of the space that's available. So I thought that section just needs to be cleaned up a little bit because it wasn't as obvious. I think the committee found it on Woodward. And then my final comment was it seemed like there were some inconsistencies with the project timeline. And maybe I just missed something in the conversation around the costing, but I would have thought that the project timeline was likely the same now, given any contractor, whether it's a 2 or 4 grade school, is going to have full access to the site. I realize there's complications if we did the ad reno, but what stuck out to me was you had a 2 grade with 30 months, but a 4 grade new was only 24 months, which I think we're all operating under the 24 months. So just cleaning that part up would be helpful. But overall, from my perspective, great job on this document. I know a lot of moving pieces, a lot of which weren't probably clear to you based on until our vote last week. And I'm sure if I read through it again, I'd have some more, but that was my first blush comment.
Yeah, and Jason, I think the 24 and 30 were switched in the carrying cost calculations.
So I would just ask Larry and team just kind of button that up and clarify what we're actually assuming under all those scenarios.
Yes, we can double check both the written pieces as well as the numbers, which I think, Andrew, you were referring to.
Andrew, I'm going to lower your hand unless you have anything else. You can always put it back up if you have anything else.
No, didn't realize it was up.
No, don't worry. Mark.
Yeah, just to kind of take it one step further with Jason's comments on Woodward. You may want to mention that along the rear and the side of that property, we are extremely close to the residential houses that are close by, which really puts us in a bind if we ever add behind that school. And and just make a statement, unlike Neary where that doesn't exist. The residents are a long way away from all of our activities down on the school. That's all I had.
Roger.
So I feel a little bit like Jason Jr. on this, but I'll go ahead anyway. First, let me say, you know, to the folks that put this together, I thought it really was a good job. A lot of material went into this. So I really did think it was a very good job. I also noted, but Jason already noted it, the reference to the other school districts. But I understand why that's, you know, why sometimes that gets left over from a template. Yeah, I didn't understand why we talked at all about the, I know the public safety and the town offices are there, are right there. But I didn't understand, but I also didn't remember any conversation that we had where we were concerned about the traffic kind of in relation to the public safety building. I don't know about the town offices, but I just don't remember any. So if it turns out that gets pulled, which I think, Jason, you were, I don't know whether you were suggesting that be the lowest priority or just got removed. I don't think it adds anything. And so the Finn situation being, I know it's not really part of the project. So I also felt that because it's another old school, and Jason, I didn't have any way to, I didn't have a good way to put it, but this idea that we're really taking care of our, kind of our school buildings for a while if it goes through this way. I think that's a good way to put it. I'm not sure exactly how that should be said, but I really strongly agree with that because Finn is that other old school, if you will, and we don't, we don't want to be worrying about that in another 20 years, 10, 12, 15, 20 years. So I haven't finished reading a part of this, but that was sort of it for me so far.
And Roger, just to clarify your point, my reaction is to strike what we have up on the screen right now, not move it down, which seems like it's consistent with what you're saying.
I would agree with that very much.
Denise?
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree with removing that. And I don't think that should be there. But I do agree that maybe a way to address the Finn question is that this was one of the pillars as to why we went that way, 2 versus 4, to eliminate it, bring that up to eliminate, future problems. And I also wanted to say that the team did a great job putting this together. I've read it over once, but I need to read it over again. It's obviously extensive, but they did a great job. My comments.
Greg?
I just one comment on page 18. It speaks to the FY25 capital plan and air conditioning. And it's actually, I think that's a little misleading. I think if I'm correct, we voted to do a study for air conditioning.
Good point.
Craig, is that a study in FY 2025 or just a study?
So I think it's actually through ARPA funds, I believe, we have money to study potential AC options for the building.
Okay. So we'll leave that open-ended and not be specific with timing.
Perfect.
Yeah, so the feasibility is funded. The actual installation, which is obviously going to be a large number, that hasn't been brought forward in any way, shape, or form or quantified.
Okay.
Jason, if I can just, we just awarded the contract for the feasibility study this past week. So it's just beginning right now, Larry.
Okay, we can put it in that effect here. Moving forward with a feasibility study.
Okay, thanks, Greg. Thanks, Becky. Any other comments before I try to summarize where I think we're at? Okay. So it sounds like everyone probably needs another pass through the document. There will be some edits that have been agreed to here this evening, but I don't think that should cause anyone to pause in terms of reading if you haven't spent a detailed time with the initial submission. Larry, when do you think we could get an updated version based on what you've heard thus far?
Well, I think the comments you were feeding us today, and we got some from C as well, and from Marianne. We've already incorporated, so we've just picked up those kind of editorials or typos or things. I think the most substantial update is getting Finn in there in a couple of places. So I would say a couple days to do that. I don't think it's a very long exercise.
And you would be able to point out or highlight where that gets added, correct?
Yeah, I think what we should do is it's not quite as easy as a Word document, but give you a red line version of it so you can see how that gets added in.
However, you can call
So
it
I
out.
would think Thursday at the latest.
My goal was going to be to see if everyone's available Friday to try to finalize this. Just in given you need to submit to the MSBA by Tuesday, or is it Thursday of next week?
Tuesday.
And the local action letters were a process last time. They're very simple when you look at them. When you're trying to get notaries and different people and 3 people on the same piece of paper at the same time, it becomes a little more and you need to be able to pick them up too. So,
Okay.
if
What?
if there's a way to get it Wednesday, and I don't know if the committee's available Friday either. So, my sense is we need another 30-minute meeting though of the committee to get this wrapped up, hopefully.
So why don't we aim to get ours done by end of day Wednesday?
Okay.
Does that sound all right?
It does. Which then gives us options for when we want to meet. So Roger, I see your hand up. So before I try to figure out when we're going to meet,
I just wanted, so, Larry, you had made the statement, you were gonna try to get Finn in there a couple places, and I know a couple of us spoke about that, so could you maybe just briefly frame what you're thinking of as far as getting Finn in there in a couple places? Just maybe kind of a short summary, what you're thinking?
Well, the quick thing we did was a review of the Finn building and what it would take to do sort of a base repair.
Correct.
And I think that's a little more, it's a 2 to 3 page, I can't remember how long that got to, sort of narrative of what we think would work that needed to be done in sort of a base repair format. We had also put together the numbers. I'm not sure whether you want to include the numbers, so that is sort of a question for you guys. And then I think it just needs a little bit of an intro in a couple of places to introduce the topic, and it would probably go in the existing conditions, which is section 3.3.2.
Okay. All right, thanks. I'm trying to look at you through the video, Jason, to see if you're, and also Denise. And I can't see Mark to see if you're sort of agreeing, kind of in consensus with that as a direction.
I may simplify it a little bit. I don't want to get too far down that building because I don't want it to be a distraction because we're not supposed to be looking at Finn, right? But I do think it's important to denote the delta and call it out multiple times between the 2 grade and the 4 grade option, right? Which was in the 20-ish million range, right? In terms of, right, it may be larger when you're looking at total cost because I realize there's no net reimbursement cost anywhere in this document, which I don't. So my suggestion would be when the committee looks at that delta combined with the educational benefits, as well as other future capital projects that would be needed for the elementary school in the district, this was the most prudent financial track to deal with that over a long duration of time, as opposed to, I'm not asking, at least I'm not, I welcome, there's a lot of other people that were thinking about this one way or another way last week. But that's why I voted the way I did, right? You know, because we encapsulated all the educational needs, but it also, when you looked at the financial delta and you tried to look just beyond this project and you tried to have a longer term horizon, that's really where it crystallized for me. If there was a $50 million gap between the 2 grade and the 4 grade, just hypothesizing, my guess is we would have had a very different vote.
I agree with you, Jason. I think we should include it, but not dive too deeply into it because it's not the charge of this committee, but we took that into consideration, the future needs of the town.
Okay. So scheduling wise, realizing we're going to get a document again Wednesday. Again, I would not wait, based on what I've at least heard tonight. If you haven't spent as much time with it as you'd like, I would not wait until Wednesday to get the updated document from Arrow Street. So realizing that, are people comfortable that they may be ready Friday? Or do we need to have this? We can slip it into the weekend or Monday too. I know Monday night does not work for the school administration and school committee, but also the school committee likely is going to have to vote in and around that time period too, Roger. So thoughts on people's schedules, and I'll have to pull the other two that are not here tonight.
Jason, I'm out Friday, so I can't meet then, but I could do Monday, but I'll see what everybody else can do.
Okay. Roger, is your hand still up or is that a new hand?
So I am Good Friday, and I also think that we probably shouldn't be cutting it too close. I have a question about the document that's going to come to us by the end of Wednesday. So I think the way the changes were described, I mean, so we have a document that I have a document that I was going to continue to look at. There's a document that's going to come at the end of Wednesday in some way marked as far as changes. So we really only have to worry if we've reviewed this, the current document enough to satisfy ourselves, okay, individually. Would we only be looking at the changes that come through on Wednesday because that'll be somewhat obvious? I'm looking at Larry through the screen.
Yeah, I think so.
How tough is that?
With the exception of the Fin discussion, everything else I think is pretty simple edits.
Okay.
And so Roger and others, if you want to keep reading, and if you come across a typo, send it along because we're happy to get those as soon as we can. I think the piece that we should send out in the sort of red line version is the Fin specifically. The rest of them seem like, and we can try and capture them as well by sending out a sort of PDF of the markups, but I'm a little cautious just because InDesign, which is the format, doesn't quite track it as well as Word does.
Understood. All right. Thanks.
Those of you who are familiar, Word does it really simply, and then you click a button and off you go.
I would suggest you just tell us what page or pages it's on, Larry. Don't
Okay.
try to do it red line.
Okay.
Denise?
I'm good for Friday. I'm good for Monday. Whatever you want. And I'll be ready. I've read it, but I want to just glance it again, but I'll be ready for Friday or Monday, whichever you choose.
Mark?
Other than tomorrow, I'm around all the time.
Okay. How about Monday morning? I'm just trying to, we can't do the evening, Roger, because you're out the evening, plus all of our ex officios, correct?
Jason, just a general comment on Monday morning. That's the first day teachers return. So we are, the ex officios are in a meeting most of the morning, and the school committee members are invited to that meeting. Whether they're attending or not, that's another question.
Okay.
And I'll also, I'm not sure if people would have time, but Thursday afternoon at, I know we have a standing meeting at 2. But that would work for the district leaders at that time to be able to attend, or Friday afternoon. We're all booked Friday morning.
And Andrew, you were out all day Friday, correct?
Yeah, but I mean, if I could probably do my comments and just send them to you, Jason, and you can incorporate them. I mean, if you guys can meet without me, that's fine.
Okay. And with all due respect to our school administration members, I think as long as you get your comments in, we can take care of the business we need to take care of too. So this is not going to work perfectly. We knew that. We've known that for 3 months now. You know, we worked carefully around last week to make sure everyone could be there. So let me pull the other 2 that are not here tonight about Friday versus Monday. Andrew, if you could just let me know offline if there's if you're definitely not out, if you're definitely out for Friday, then I won't ask this question. But if you were planning to join at any point in time, if there was a preferred time, but it sounds like you just were gonna make sure someone has your comments, which is fine. And we'll just try to get this wrapped up and get the minutes approved that we need to get approved. Roger?
Have we dismissed Greg's at least thinking about the Thursday afternoon meeting time, or is that too soon?
I would have to check with others. I have
Okay.
until tomorrow to post it. So
Oh, that's a fair point. Yeah, that's a fair point.
what about Thursday evening if we went that way, that direction? Again,
I'm trying to as far as just to keep my hand up and respond.
good.
I'm thinking that Chelsea and I might have something Thursday evening. I don't know if that's still going to be on for that date. There was a tentative discussion about that, but I don't know if you know, kind of school committee office hours, you know, community. But I'm not sure whether that's still on or not, quite frankly.
Okay. All right, I will send out just a quick poll to everyone. We kind of have a general idea of Thursday, Friday, Monday. Let me try to find out when Kathy and Chris are available. Goal would be try to get as many here as possible, and those that can't make it, to make sure that they have a voice, you know, probably directly to Larry and team to capture these comments. Okay. Anything else in the preferred schematic report? Okay, is there any public comment? Okay, we talked about meeting schedule for the next 7 days, so we'll finalize that within the next 24 hours or less. After that, we're going to be back to about 1 meeting a month. I know it sounds crazy, but we're back to 1 meeting a month. So I'm finalizing a schedule with Skanska. I had a few questions out that I think are out there just to resolve in terms of logistics, but I think we should be able to circulate that. We're gonna be going back to Monday nights unless someone tells me those are out for some reason. Roger?
So the Thursday meeting, has that been withdrawn? I know the last week's was,
Working group?
yes.
I asked Arrow Street and Skanska to comment on that.
I know we're holding the time. If there's an agenda, we're happy to meet. And if there's no agenda, we'll keep moving.
I'm holding the time as well. Let's see.
All right, it's canceled. Okay, so there's no working group.
Okay,
So the question is going to be whether we do a full committee meeting at some point on Thursday, Friday, or Monday.
And my Thursday night situation might be open, sometimes I just,
But we could do it a half an hour before or after too.
Yeah,
Depending on,
sometimes I live with the ghost of meetings on my calendar and can't get rid of them.
okay. Any other business for tonight? All right, so protocol is if you do have comments that as you read through, I think the easiest way to do it is to send them directly to Larry. Unless someone else wants to be the receiver of those. And then he can encapsulate them. Larry, what I'd ask you to do is we're going to take those emails though, just so everyone has visibility to them and we have clear tracking from an OML perspective. And we'll put that in our packet. So if Denise sends you an email and says, fix these 10 commas, we at least know exactly what Denise proposed and it's there for discussion.
Okay, yeah, I would just say to everyone, go ahead and CC Jason as well as the Skanska team, just so we have it. But we can go ahead and keep moving with what we see as it comes along.
Yeah. Okay. Any other business for tonight? All right, I will make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second,
Roll call vote, Denise,
Aye.
Roger,
aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
and I am I as well. Have a good evening.
Good night, everybody. Thanks.